Start your week smiling with your friends, Kathy Zant and Michelle Frechette. It's time to get ready for some weekly motivation with WP Motivate. Happy Thursday night, Kathy.
It's Thursday night. It was so cool because I was just like, all right, I'm going to chill out and I'm just going to lie on the sofa because I just did a meetup and stuff. And I was just like, oh, I got to send Michelle this Insta Reel. It was Insta Reel time.
It
And then you're
was.
like, hey, let's talk, let's record. And I'm like, okay,
Let's just
I
do
got
it.
enough makeup on. Let's just do it. So it's Thursday night. It's like, wait, almost my bedtime, but
I
I'm
know.
here.
It's like almost 10:30 at night here. I don't go to bed till like midnight or 1 o'clock, things like that.
Yeah.
I'm a night owl, so I was like, let's just do it now. Why
Yeah.
not?
Yeah. Why not?
Uh, why not? Well, you and I were talking a little bit before we hit the record button. I mean, we can't share everything we talk about because it's not all for other people's consumption. Some of it's just because you and I have things that we talk about. Um, but yeah, so we started talking about the security issues that are happening right now with bricks
Oh
and
my
that whole bit.
gosh.
Yeah.
And
I
quickly too. It's not just bricks, it's quickly. And oh my gosh, it has been so I've lived through a lot of like, oh my gosh, a lot of times they happen in February. Like one of the
Interesting.
first, like, oh my gosh, I am dealing, it was the WordPress 4.7 REST API vulnerability where all people had to do is basically like type something into the browser and they could just like rewrite a page. And so I was
Wow.
cleaning hack sites at that time. And it was
Yeah.
in February. It was this time
Hmm.
of year. So this is like February must have like the vibe of, hey, hackers, let's get busy.
It's
Because oh
cursed.
my gosh,
What a
this
day.
bricks vulnerability. So it's an unauthenticated remote code execution vulnerability, which means you can basically just like send a command to a website. You don't have to be logged in, nothing. You just send a command and remote code execution, just like, hey, website, get hacked. And it's hacked like that.
That's not terrifying at all.
Not terrifying at all. And so my friend, who's also into security, actually, my friend who found the vulnerability in Brooks is like, oh, you should go check out what's happening in the Brooks community. So I like went in there and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like I'm sitting there like the dog with the hat on, but the fire is really everywhere.
This is
I'm like,
fine.
I got work
Everything's
to do.
fine.
I can't exactly. Oh my
It's
gosh.
bedlam.
And then I'm reading some posts like just security's hard. Like if you're not in security and you haven't seen this kind of stuff year after year, month after month, February after February,
Yeah.
it's like, oh my gosh, what's going on? And so like everybody's just like flipping out. So I was trying to be like a voice of reason. And then in one case, I was like, y'all better be not telling people to do some of this stuff. Like, oh, here's how you fix it. You just delete WP admin and then you just delete WP includes and make sure you do this. And like, don't tell people to do this. Like, he's
Yeah.
going to mess up their sites like time. Like, there's a, anyway, it has
Um,
been a crazy week.
well, I've never used Wix. I just haven't, right? But I have a client, a personal client who is now going to have somebody else redesign their website and do a whole marketing campaign. And they were a little nervous about telling me because I mean, I built the site like 10 years ago. So I get on the phone with them today. I'm like, it's really okay. I said, this is not what I do as my primary. I said, I didn't want to say, you've been a burden the last 3 years, kind of thing. But but when I set up this site, maybe it was not 10 years ago, it was probably more like 8 years though. When I set up this site, I had listened to somebody at that point in time, which of course we don't do a lot now, but say you should redirect your, WP-admin, hide your login page, and there's this plugin that'll do that for you, right? So he says to me, could you back up the site so that if after a year, if it's not working, we can go back to the site that you built? I said, absolutely. Do you think I can remember what this page was that I used to log in? And I literally just did an update for him like in October. But because I had to think of it right then because they needed me to do stuff and give him a
Yeah.
login to the site. I'm like, I I built built a site so secure even I couldn't get into it. But so I had to log into the hosting, change the name of the plugin so that I could actually
Yeah.
log into the site. I was like, at least I knew how to do that, and I wasn't like, sorry, I can't help you. But yeah, it's like I felt really stupid. Nobody else knew, and now I'm telling the entire world. Well, I don't know how much of the WordPress community is listening this far into our podcast, but potentially everybody now knows that I made that really funny blunder. Um,
Yeah.
but it made me think about our personal security too, right? So I'm not even just talking web security, but personal security. And I think most people know I live alone. I'm divorced. This is, me working at home, living at home by myself. And so I have security measures on my home. I have a Ring doorbell. I
Hmm.
have a front door that I can lock remotely. I can tell if anybody's come and gone with a keypad because it logs every entrance, right? So I can see who's come, like when the cleaning people have come, if my
Yeah.
neighbor grabs packages and brings them in, like I can see all that's happened. And I got this message like popped up. I'm laying in bed last night and just, scrolling TikTok as one does,
Yeah.
or reels in your case, whatever. And like I get this pop-up from Safely, which is the door lock that I have on my front door. And like
Uh-huh.
at 11 o'clock at night, getting a pop-up from your front door is terrifying because I'm like,
Yeah.
who's trying to get in my house, right? And so I go to open it, like literally my heart's starting to race faster. And it's like, oh, you might want to consider upgrading to XYZ. And I was like, F you, Sifely. Like, this is not an alert. This is
Yeah.
an email or an in-app notification, not a let's put this broadcast on the front part of her phone. I was like, oh, it scared me.
Oof.
But it also reminded me of an episode that happened. Gosh, I think it was October. It was September, October. So it was. I lock my windows at night, even if I do have them open during the day, because I live on the first floor and I don't want people coming in through my windows.
Yeah.
But I think it was already had started to get cold, and I'm laying in my bed at night because this happened at 11:30 at night. I get a notification from my Ring doorbell, which happens a lot because my door, my neighbor's door, because I'm in a condo, are like literally side by side, right? So like an L shape, I can see their door from my Ring doorbell.
Hmm.
But 11:30 at night's an unusual time to get a notification for that. So as it pops up on my phone, I click it, and I'm watching two people try to get in my house, in my front door. And I was like, holy shit, right? So
Yeah.
I'm like, do I talk to them through my doorbell? Do I kind of watch and see what happens? The whole thing's recording, so at least if they breach my door, at least I've got something to show the police. Um, and I watched the guy jump up because I have like the at the very top of my door is a window, like just two little windows. I can hardly reach them standing because they're that high up on the door. This guy jumps up to look in my house. And my lights were still on because I hadn't turned them off. They are all on, Amazon Echo, so I turned them off from my phone or whatever from my room. And so he could literally hear my cats meowing. I could hear them talking, and he's like, I can't get in. He says to this other person, it's locked. And she's like, well, try again. And he's like trying to my door handle. And she takes a few steps back and she looks up and down the road and she says, and he says, do you think we're in the wrong house? She goes, no, this is the right house. And she takes a step back and looks, she goes, oh, wait a minute. I think it's this other house down the road. And so he goes to leave and he comes back. He looks at my Ring doorbell and he goes, sorry, we had the wrong house. And he
Oh my
leaves.
gosh.
And my heart was pounding. I was like, do I dial 911? What's going on? These people are trying to break into my home. But
Yeah.
it's that's then that I have like, whoever thought in a million years that like 10 years ago, 20 years ago, never would have thought that we'd have like the Richie Rich televisions on our phones and be able to like talk to each other face to face like we're doing right now between New York and Texas.
Hmm.
It's like phone camera phones were like only things in fiction. It wasn't something that we really had. And that your doorbell could show you who's literally standing at your door and that you could
Right.
talk to the person right through your doorbell. Like these are things that were like so sci-fi when we were growing up. And I'm just really grateful that we have these things that we can put in places to feel more secure. Now, could somebody break into my house if they really wanted to? Yeah, of course they could. It's just a house, right? It's like I'm not in Fort Knox. There is like, I'm not a gated
Right.
community. Like I just live in a little town and it's a condo and there's people upstairs, there's people next door. But if somebody really wanted to breach, I think that obviously they're going to be able to do that. But
Right.
thank goodness you at least have measures in place when somebody, if I hadn't had that door locked, they literally would have walked right into my home.
Wow. That's
And
always scary.
it is scary for sure, but we put these kinds of things into place to be safe, and we have to protect our websites much the same way. Now, I don't have to
Yeah.
update the firmware on my lock very often, right? That doesn't happen, but your website's a different story, and you are the security person more than I am, so you can speak to that more closely than I can.
I get into it. I'm a little excited about stuff like this. Whenever there's like a big event like that, well, for I find hacking very interesting because it's like breaking
Because you,
outside
because you're a
of.
nerd.
I am a geek. I'm a nerd. I loved DEF CON. Went to 2 different DEF CONs and
I love it.
enjoyed both of them. They were so much fun. Brought my kids to DEF CON. Had just a blast. Yeah, so security, physical security, I don't worry. My husband used to worry about all that stuff. We got a security system on the house, cameras and all of that fun stuff.
Mhm.
But it's like I was never something that I was like super worried about. I had a husband. He was armed.
Right,
Now I'm armed, but I
Vicky.
don't know what to do with any of this stuff. It's like, there's a box of bullets. Throw them at someone. I don't know how to work any of this stuff. I've got a neighbor who's like, let me come over. I'll show you. I'm just like, yeah, they're going in the hiding secret spot. And I don't
Yeah.
know what to do with all that stuff, but I
How,
never
how,
worry about that kind of stuff. So,
how hard do I have to throw a bullet for it to actually do damage?
well, a box of bullets is really heavy. So
That's
it's like
true.
throwing
You could give
yeah,
somebody a concussion. I mean, you're not going to pierce the skin, but you could definitely
yeah.
concuss them.
Yeah, yeah. I don't yeah, I'm not equipped for that kind of stuff, you know. So I feel
Me
like I'm giving
either.
away all my secrets. I shouldn't be talking about this publicly.
Well,
Yeah.
so I put cameras in my home. I got them for Christmas. But here's the funny part. The cameras in my home are not security cameras. They're so I can watch my cats when I'm not here. I have one in the living room. And sometimes I'll be in my room at night and I'll like just check and I'll see that one of the cats is laying on the back of the couch and I can talk to her through the camera and I'll be like, Stella.
Yeah.
And she looks up like, who is that? And then I'll move the
Yeah.
camera and she's like watching it. And then she gets bored. But I feel like God for just a minute there.
Yeah.
Talking to the
I have
cat.
one I have one on the husband for like if I have to run a quick errand. So like I can
Sure.
just like if I'm in line, checking out somewhere, I can check on him. Oh well, he woke up and so I'll say, uh I'm at so and so store. I'll be home in just a little bit. Just hang tight. You're safe. I'll say that
Yeah.
to him.
Yeah.
Then I'll come home and he's like, "You talked to me through the TV." Like, I did, because the camera's right next to the
Yeah.
TV. So
Yeah.
he thinks like
He
I
thinks
have
it's the
some
TV.
kind of like yeah, like I have some kind of godlike powers. I've taken over the television.
I'm everywhere.
Yeah. So he's like, he thinks it's magical. So
I was watching a TikTok the other day. I love the ones that are put on like by the doorbell people, whether it's Ring or another
yeah,
one. Like people will
yeah,
submit their cameras. And there was one where a little girl comes up on the porch and I think it was the dad saw it like at the alert. And so she's with the mom, like they're coming up on the porch and he says, I don't know her name is, but like, hey Sarah, how's it going today? And she looks like this, she looks back and forth, she looks at her mom, she goes, is that God? She's like, no, it's daddy. That was cute.
oh, too funny. It's
Yeah,
so crazy how many more like when I was a kid, we didn't have any of this kind of stuff, It
not at
was
all.
like now security is everywhere.
Yep. When you were growing up, were you the remote control? Kathy, go change the channel.
Oh my gosh. I have so we had first of all, the remote control was called the channel changer.
That's right. That's
And
right.
and our TV was this, my dad won it or something. It was this giant Zenith, the size of like a small car, right?
Yeah.
It
Rear
was
projection.
huge. And it had a telephone in the TV, and we
Oh
were all like,
my.
Let's call people on the TV." And so we'd call people, and they're like, "You sound like crap. You sound like you're underwater." It was like the worst.
It's my TV phone.
But yeah, yeah, the TV phone. And then the TV, if I sneezed, it would change the channel. I don't know what it was about my sneezing,
Oh,
but
that's funny.
pitch of it for some reason would change the channel, so then people would yell at me to stop sneezing. Now I feel like I have to sneeze. Uh,
I
but
remember we
yeah.
had the aerial antenna on top of the house, and there was this
Mhm.
like this brown box on top of the TV with a dial, and you would turn it to try to reposition the antenna, and you'd hear it go chick 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 as it like turn, and then you were trying to get the better picture, and then of course then it was like every TV had the antenna built into the back, and you'd put like there are times when we were trying to watch something, mom would be like, "Go stand there and hold the antenna," because it would get better reception if a
Oh
person
my
was holding
gosh.
it.
Yeah.
And then you would put the aluminum foil on it to try to get better reception.
Yeah.
And all before, and now it's
Yeah.
like we stream things, it's coming in. Then it was cable, where you literally had
Then it's
cables
cable.
coming in, and then now it's just like your Wi-Fi. So funny. Like
Yeah.
in our
Yeah.
lifetime, so much has
Wow.
been, yeah, it's been
Yeah, like
really
when I was
nuts.
when I was very little, we only had like three stations, like three
Right.
television stations, and you know, you waited for the show.
He did. And this was my favorite thing is on Sunday night, TV was crappy. And so like
Yeah.
it was either the Lawrence Welk show or Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom be watching. A one and a
Oh,
two and
yeah.
the
Oh
lovely
my
Boylan
gosh.
sisters from the Finger Lakes.
Yes. Oh,
Oh my
yes.
gosh.
Oh my
People that are listening to this
gosh.
now are like, oh my God, these women are ancient.
These old ladies talking about the old TV that came through the airwaves
That's
instead of
right.
the
That's right.
cables. Oh
Oh
my
my
gosh.
goodness.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Well, you know what? I wouldn't change it any other way because like
Nope.
I really appreciate what we have
Yep.
because I don't have to live through that. I had the fun of like discovering MTV and
Yeah.
when it was actually music television and just loving all of that like early 80s music. That
Yeah.
was those were the good old days and I'm glad I got
Really
to live
were.
through that and I'm glad I'm living now.
And none of it's on
It's a
Facebook. Like we don't have to worry about covering any social media history from our teenage years.
thank God. Yeah,
There's the benefit of being
now
Gen
it's
X.
just yeah, now it's just Gen X memes, you know? Like I just saw one on Facebook yesterday. It was like Adamant, like this picture of Adamant, you know? Did you ever like Adamant?
Yes.
We've we waited in line outside the place, the music place,
Hmm.
the Metro Center. It was what they called it. We waited overnight for Adamant tickets. I look back at that and I'm like, boy, well, I mean, we had fun because it was like
Hmm.
every teenager in our town was like waiting, oh, we're gonna
Yeah.
go wait for Adamant tickets. And then I ended up in like the fifth row or something like that. And he had a soapy leg warmer and he threw it in the audience and it hit us in the face. And I was just like, this is we were at the time we thought it was great, but now I look back and I'm just like, that's so
So
dumb.
gross. Yeah. Oh
Disgusting
goodness.
leg warmer. I got hit with a wet leg warmer from Adamant.
I had so many pairs of leg warmers in the 80s. Like I wore them under prairie skirts. Do you remember leg warmers with prairie skirts? That was me. The puff prairie. I looked like I should have been on Little House on the Prairie, but with leg
Oh my
warmers.
god. Of course. And probably the poofy hair too, right?
Oh gosh, yeah. Like if your hair was big, if your hair wasn't big, like you were sick or I don't know, poor, but like at
Yeah.
Aquanet, it was like the
Oh,
cheapest, the cheapest hairspray ever.
definitely. Oh my gosh. Just the
Those were the
best.
days. They
Hey,
were. It
those were the
was.
days.
They really were. That's the title of this episode. Those were the days.
Oh my gosh.
Wait. We started
I'm
with
not gonna be Archie. I might be in Texas, but I'm not Archie.
thank goodness. Thank goodness. we have gone so far from our topic today, but I went to a wedding about, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago. And so I'm sitting in this church with my then husband, and this woman comes out, the cantor comes out, and she's gonna sing. I don't even remember what song it was, some church song or whatever. And we're all just sitting there, and this woman it's before the ceremony, and she's starting to sing this song, and like me, my husband at the time, and like some friends that I knew that were sitting in the seat behind us, we are all trying so hard not to laugh and giggle because this woman just sounded so much like Edith Bunker
Really? Oh my gosh.
for a wedding. And I was like, literally had my hand over my mouth so that I would not laugh out loud. Oh, so
Oh
fun
my
though.
gosh.
So fun. Well, we have really meandered. We are so far off the beaten path, but I have enjoyed this
From the
episode
80s
immensely.
and security. It's it's late at night. We're a little punchy, I think.
There's
It's a
there's a
little
connection there somewhere. We got there somehow. There was a
yeah.
path. It's all good. Anyway, well, if you've listened, I hope that you have some fun memories too, and that if not, you have lived vicariously through two women laughing at 10:44 at night on a Thursday about WordPress, technology, and everything that made our youth what it was. Anyway, I have to stop now because my face hurts from laughing. So we'll see y'all next week. Bye.
Bye.
This has been WP Motivate with Kathy Zant and Michelle Frechette. To learn more or to sponsor us, go to WPMotivate.com.